What is going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 43. I am your host, Marcus, and in this episode, we're talking about why introspection matters. Now, over the past week, I've had a lot of deep thoughts, a lot of inner reflecting, and I want to really bring up why it matters. I've talked about deep thinking, I've talked about critical thinking, and how important it is in life. I believe my first episode was on critical thinking, essentially, because it matters. And introspection is one of those things that you need to spend a lot of time with. And over the past couple of weeks, I've done a lot of introspection. I've been really thinking about what's going on with Discover Ignites, what I have been doing as an entrepreneur, what I have been aiming and striving for, and realizing that a lot of times it takes some deep thought about what you truly want. And I talk about destination and how important that is. But when defining your destination, what is your primary goal? What is your primary objective? These are questions I have been asking myself. And through this whole thought process and reflecting, I've come across a lot of different information. I've come across a lot of different perspectives. You gain new knowledge over a span of time, and it causes you to shift priorities. I've had conversations that have caused me to shift different thoughts and ideas, and where am I really going? What am I really wanting to achieve? And inner reflection really matters, right? Because you're not only thinking about your thoughts and ideas and your feelings, but trying to determine what is right for you. And only you can define that. But the thing is I think we get to a point to where, other people's thoughts and ideas are influencing our own. And this is where you need to separate that and determine what, beliefs, thoughts and ideas, and how you're feeling about the situation. Where are they at? Are they your own? And I'm trying to make sure that every decision I make is based off of that. Am I doing the things that I enjoy doing? And I talked about this. I just did a podcast with my friend Sean. We have the Improvement Lounge, and we were talking about when to quit and how important I thought that was, because you need to find exactly what you're quitting, first of all. And is it really how you not only define that, but where you go? And it's not really quitting, but it is more shifting priority ultimately. And when you're talking about inner reflection, you have to go deep. And I know a lot of times we don't want to go that deep. We want to be very surface level, again, because we don't feel like we deserve a lot. I feel like, even for myself, like I've always asked myself the question, well, what makes you deserve the things that you want, Marcus? And the thing is you have to be okay with saying, I'm my own person and I deserve specific things. Now, I'm not just saying give it to me, right? I'm not just saying hand me over the things that I want. I want to be able to be strong enough to be able to achieve those things. I want to obtain the knowledge I need to achieve those things and understand the true value of those things that I want. Because a lot of times I think we lose the fact on true value of those things that we gain. And this is why you've noticed anything that is given to you, perhaps something that you've really desired or wanted, a lot of people spend tons of money on lottery tickets for trying to get that freedom. Ultimately, it's not the money, it's what money buys you, and money buys you freedom. And if you can dive deep into, what is really the root cause of a lot of the different things that we want, there's a lot deeper story, but a lot of us aren't willing to go that deep. A lot of us aren't willing to determine that the actions and the things that we are doing and how we feel about it and not executing on those things. And so even looking over a lot of the different things I've been doing, I started really reflecting, okay, well, what do I enjoy? I need to do more of that. What aligns with, Discover Ignite? What aligns with my trading? What aligns with some of the other different endeavors I've been looking at and being curious about and exploring? What, really lights me up? What gets me up in the morning? But like, yes, I love doing this. What parts of Discover Ignite do I like and enjoy, and do more of that? There's a reason why I do it. And it is aligning those things that you enjoy, and not only that, but with those people you like being around, right? You want to continue doing those things that are going to light you up every single day, or else you're not going to want to show up, and then you want to quit, as opposed to shifting priorities and looking at things and trying to decipher what really matters there. Because quitting is one thing, right? Quitting is something that you can quit stuff because of whatever reason, right? Your priorities shift. But the reason for quitting shouldn't be because it's just hard and I can't, because I have a track record, and so I feel like it can't be changed. And that is what I think a lot of people get hung up on. And so they quit because they have no track record. They don't believe in the process, or maybe a priority shift. Maybe you obtain new knowledge. But a lot of times, a lot of things that you want, you have to realize that it is going to take a massive amount of effort, sacrifice, and a lot of other things to achieve those things. And not to say that you won't go off course. I've gone off course many times, and it's refining that going off course and realizing and being aware that when you go off course, that you correct yourself back to course. And if you find that it is really just not taking your focus and really pulling your focus in, that sometimes maybe you need to try something a little bit different to help that. Just a little bit different perspective can make a world of difference. Like me looking at Discover Ignite and looking at the fact that I like the podcasting, I like doing the TikToks, and I like doing things. And I may be very transparent for somebody that follows me, because you can see where my priorities have shifted, because I like doing the small videos that are almost like intimate in the fact that they provide a message to get your thoughts really going. And I like that because it's funny when I think about the different videos I do for TikTok. It's because I almost imagine myself in that same atmosphere, about myself coming out of the shadows, that voice that comes out in the shadows and has that message. But I want it to be a positive message to get me thinking about something, or maybe it's something that is currently going on. And so when I look at my TikToks, it's much like that. It's that thought, that idea that pops in. Hey, you need to focus here. And I know it's not hard. I know it's not easy. And that's why I like doing the TikToks, because of that fact. And it's going over the things that I enjoy, right? Like I've never felt like Discover Ignite is pulled something away. I feel like I owe it to other people. I owe it to other people just because I like to give back in a way. And sometimes I felt like in my younger years, I never really gave back as much as I should. I felt like perhaps I probably took more than I should at some points in my life. And maybe you can all relate to that. But ultimately, I feel like Discover Ignite's been a more, how can I give back to a community of people, that struggle with different things that I've struggled with. And I have overcome or continue to push forward, because a lot of stuff, you learn to deal with things. You learn to come at stuff with a better approach. You know how to handle things. You know how to handle yourself. You know how to handle your emotions. And it's going back out there and, again, refocusing sometimes, because sometimes you can find that you're just drifting and you're going through the motion. It's not really getting you anywhere. And so at those times, you need to go back to the drawing board and really reflect on a lot of different things and find what's working for you, what's not, and then dropping those things that aren't. This can go for anything. This can go for your job. This can go for your relationship. This can go for specific things that you're doing, perhaps for your business. If you want to keep things to be more sustainable and make life better, because the happiness and flow state and all these things, right, they're all a state. You have to maintain these things. And it's not saying that state is going to be with you forever, because I think we get this misconception that, it's like a light switch. Once it goes on, it's just continuously on, and it's not. It's something you have to monitor and determine, where am I going? Am I still going to my destination? Am I still in that state of mind where I'm happy and finding that flow? And sometimes it may take a couple different times where you have to step back and look and see, okay, maybe some of the things I'm trying, they're just not working. Maybe I just need to add something different. Maybe I need to tweak something here, and things get better. Maybe I need to spend a little bit more time, not so much focused on this, but perhaps exploring something else. Doing that for a little bit. Maybe that gives me a new perspective to come back and rejuvenates me to want to continue what I'm doing. It's not completely abandoning all those things I put time, energy, and effort into, because I do care about specific things. And I want to grow and foster in specific areas. And I've always found that, personal growth, right? Like, a lot of people find it as being a challenge. They find it as being overwhelming. And I know a lot of people hammer down about how toxic personal growth is and everything, that just doesn't stop. You have to understand that it is in our chemistry, right? To want to do that, to want to be better. And a lot of times it's just easier to give up. It's always easier to give up. And, you can talk about how we're wired to want to give up, but the easier choice is always so much easier when you're struggling, when you're fatigued, when you just don't want to do it anymore. And it's such a challenge. We don't allow ourselves to just take a break, but don't understand that we're going to come back. We're going to do this. We're going to manage risk, right? We're not going to just let ourselves go and go nuts and go crazy. We'll do it with some structure so that we can come back, that we don't completely lose all progress. This is why reflecting is important, and doing it frequently is important. Like anything you want to do, even like all the stock market stuff I do, I have to maintain a lot of that. I have to do a lot of stuff daily. I have to learn about it, look at the news, look and see what the market is doing. How is the market moving? And paying attention to the signs, right? Because a lot of times what you're being told isn't true. A lot of times the biggest message you get is from the things that aren't being said. But you have to observe those things that aren't being said, or you miss the punchline. And that is what's important. And so if you're not observing, you're going to miss the punchline. You get caught up in all the noise and not really understand what the root of the cause is. And this is what is hard, because a lot of times we live in a society where it's easier to just patch an issue as opposed to looking for the actual root cause. We're willing to spend whatever it takes to make it easy, when fixing the root cause makes it 10 times better. Fixing the root cause makes sure it's sustainable. And so reflecting, especially on your thoughts and ideas, and thinking deeply about beliefs in those things in your life that just aren't suiting you anymore. Like, and I always talk about, how much will you tolerate? At what point do you look at your life and say, you know what, I'm just done with this? But instead of pointing and blaming, realize that it is important to look internally and do an assessment on everything, the choices that you're making. And I talked last week or so about, writing down 4 columns, talking about, what is important to you and those things that you want to have accomplished in 5 years, and really giving that some deep thought, because that aligns you with the choices that you need to be making each and every day. And a lot of times, one of the biggest things, one of my probably biggest pet peeves is a lot of people will say, well, oh, you said, 6 months ago that your thought and your belief was this. You have to realize that over time, and if you're really trying to grow, if you're really trying to evolve, right? We're always evolving. We have to understand that we're always evolving. Even our thought process should evolve. And when you're evolving, you have to understand that back then, 6 months ago, maybe I didn't have a specific piece of information or facts or whatever the case is, or had a conversation that just completely pivoted me into a different thought process. That is something that always can happen. Never be static. You have to be agile in many different ways in your thought process and in your emotions and everything else, and realize that you don't want to allow your emotions to take over. You want to keep your emotions in check, because emotional thinking, emotional thought process will pull you off into different directions that you don't typically want to be. Now, defining that between intuition is completely different, right? Intuition is something I think you need to follow. It is a feeling. It is something that is very hard to describe, but you just get a feeling and you know that this is the right thing I should be doing. Where feelings, emotion, anger, sadness, happiness, joy, all these other different emotions that we go through are just small, more temporary situations that we're dealing with. Maybe something happens at work, right? You go home, perhaps you take it out on your spouse or your kids, or perhaps you are looking at something else in your life and you're just not happy with the way things are. You can't allow that to continue to infect everything else, right? You need to assess the situation. Well, what is going on? What is my environment doing that is putting me in that emotional state that's essentially bleeding over into everything? How do I correct that? And see, the thing is you may already know. You may know exactly what it is, but for whatever reason, you won't execute on it, right? Because you're afraid of judgment. You're afraid of something in your life. Maybe it's a change and uncertainty. But why should you be in that state? Why should you maintain that state of misery? We like to welcome misery so many different times, and I see this in so many people's lives, and even in my own life at many different points in my life. I just allowed that misery to stay and welcomed it and fed it and clothed it, right? We need to get to a point to where we don't allow it to stay. But to be able to do that, you have to do reflecting, you have to audit, and you have to be willing to set boundaries and not allow it to overtake your life. We live too long. We get to a point to where we actually start taking action when we've allowed so much time to pass. And then we're angry at ourselves for allowing so much time to pass, knowing I was completely aware of the situation, and I can't believe I just let it drag on for months and years and took no action. And then one day I just woke up and took the action, and then things got better. Why do we do that to ourselves? even myself, I've done that many different times. And then I've gotten to the state now to where I'm aware of it and I see it coming. And when it comes, I put an end to it quickly because I'm not trying to let it drag on. It's the dragging on that dampens and holds us down from other things and other possibilities. And this is why it's always important to make sure your thoughts and ideas and everything are aligned with where you want to go and what you want to do. And also understand that the people that come into your life are that same way, that they have thoughts, ideas, and goals and all these other different things aligning with who they are and where they want to go. And not reliance on me, but to be my equal, to be my teammates, and go out and do those things together and feed off each other and support each other, not kick each other when we're down, not do that. If that person's doing that, that person doesn't need to be part of your life. And yes, you have to go through many different relationships to find the good people that will support you, because you can't change people. People in your life right now may not see it that way. And so those people need to be removed. That's just part of it. But you have to understand that you can find other groups, like-minded individuals that are out there that will support you. And when you find those people, you hold on to those people. You check in on those people. You make sure that they're good and they're well. You keep them around because they're hard to find. But again, you have to do a lot of inner reflecting on yourself and deal with a lot of stuff yourself, because a lot of times we like to just push it off and not deal with it at all. It's easier to come home and get trapped in binge watching movies or binge watching shows, or going and doing something else. Perhaps it's video games, or coming home and drinking to forget, or coming home and doing something to get you out of the current situation because you don't want to deal with it. It's easier to kick the can down the road than to acknowledge what is going on and taking action. And I'm not saying you'll do it tomorrow. You'll say, okay, Marcus, I understand. I get the message you're sending me. And then tomorrow it'll be the same song and dance over and over and over. Till eventually, when you kick that can so far down the road that you start getting hateful for the fact that I can't believe I've let it continue this far. And now so much time of my life is gone. When we remember that it is our lives and the time that we can't get back. And you have to keep that. Your time needs to be sacred. It needs to be valued, and make sure you're spending it where it needs to be. And if it's not, you need to start making some really important decisions in your life. And not be afraid to make those decisions. Don't be scared. What is there to be scared of? Either one, you don't have a belief in yourself and realize that your time is valuable. Everybody's time is valuable, especially to yourself. To yourself, it should matter most where it's being spent. And not just let it be wasted. It should be put on those things that we enjoy and align with those things that we enjoy. Because we are more productive, or more happy, or more in flow. It's just more. There's more there for us. So we have to spend time to reflect. We have to spend time sitting down and thinking about those things that we want, about what's currently going on. And if it aligns, if something we still want in our life, we need to keep it. Or perhaps we have it in our lives, but we feel like it's a drain. How much more time, right? Or can you pivot it and redefine it. There's a lot of questions to ask. You shouldn't be afraid to ask them to yourself, to others. You have to be open and honest, especially to yourself, because you can't hide from yourself. You should be the same with those people that are around you, especially those people, if you've filtered those people down to those people that really matter and really love and support you and do everything that they need to get you going, to get you motivated. You need to be as honest as you can with those people. And I know that's easier said than done, but you need to try. I'm not saying just trying a little bit, not just giving up on every hurdle and roadblock that comes through. And also realize that there are certain things, especially relationships in your life, that you shouldn't just keep kicking the can down the road, because that could be most detrimental to a lot of different things in your future. So when talking about why you should reflect and why it matters, because it keeps you in a state of happiness, because it keeps you in a state of flow. And if we're not there, it's easy to fall into that category of being in misery. Being in misery and not being happy. And not waking up 10 years down the road and wondering where everything went. Don't live that way. I've lived that way for so long. I think right now I'm making up for as much lost time as I can. So I won't let it happen. I'm not going to let it happen. Push, be determined, and make it happen.